Well, hi there. I'm going to show you how to make a 10-stitch blanket in Twisty Stitch. Now, this blanket that I'm showing you here, I'm making it in Twisty Stitch, but I made it as a symmetrical, so it has this big inner square, and then I'm going around it in 10-stitch style. I'll just show you how to do a normal 10 stitch. If you want to do a more symmetrical one like this, what you can do is go to my YouTube channel, and I have a symmetrical blanket and owl eye stitch, and so that shows you how to do any of my 10 stitch patterns in a more symmetrical stitch. Now, in the symmetrical stitch video that I did with owl eye, I did 20 stitches and then turned it into a 10 stitch. On this one, I did 30 stitches to get a nice wide panel, and then I'm going around it, here we go right here, with 12 stitches. Now, why would you want to do bigger panels like this? Well, when you do a big panel like this and start with the big center panel, you don't have to go that many times around. You start getting quite a bit of size. It's nice to make it sometimes with less stitches too. I've done a number of 8 stitches. You have to go around more times, but it seems like you're not going very long until you come to the next corner to make a turn. So they both have their advantages and they have different looks. So to look at how the stitch looks, there, I think on the light color you can see it more, and why I call it twisty. It just twists. And it has an amazing amount of texture. Lots and lots of texture. Okay, the yarn I used for this one is Charisma, and then I used a 5/8 inch loom, and I have a Cindy Wood loom right here. It's 5/8 inch, and I'm down to the 12 pegs now, so you only see the 12 pegs. And the other thing I want to show you about Twisty Stitch is it has a slight curl, not as bad as E-Wrap or something, but it has a slight curl. So you could choose to live with it if you want, but I don't like it because, see, there it is. It curls like that when it's just Twisty Stitch. So I figured out an edge treatment that I use on all my Twisty Stitch blankets. And you don't have to use it at all until you come to the very last row that you're going to go around, or if you think you're not sure how far you're going to go around, when you get to the length where you think you might quit fairly soon, you can start doing it. And it blends right in with the pattern. You can't even tell. And if you go to where I wasn't doing it, not a big difference. I mean, this has a little more texture than here, but because it's just on the edge, you don't pick up that it's flatter with less texture. See? And it holds it nice and flat. So as you can see, here's where I started doing it, and we have a nice flat blanket. And then I've been working it all the way here. So no curl. And you do end up having to incorporate a few purls in the technique I used, but I only did it over these 4 pegs for a 12 stitch. You can probably get away with 3 pegs on an 8 stitch. So you don't have to do as many pegs because you have a smaller surface for the last panel. It's just from here to here. So there you go. So I'm going to show you how to do the twisty 10 stitch, and then right after I finish showing you and you know all the techniques of doing it, we'll come back and I'll show you how to do the technique on this blanket since I'm using it to just finish this blanket off. Okay, so I will get set up with what I need to start the Twisty Stitch blanket, and we'll see you in a few. Okay, so here's the loom I have right here. And it's a 3/4 inch loom. It's 30 pegs. The reason I'm using a 3/4 inch loom, I've gone up a size in the loom from the 5/8 to the 3/4, and I've gone up to a thicker, bulky than the Charisma I was using. Oh, and the color of that Charisma, I forgot to tell you, is Breeze, if you're interested in that color. So that Barcelona is Breeze that I was using. Now I'm using the color in Charisma yarn. It's called Haze, and it's a pretty color. It's got very light gray and purples and golds. Okay, and the reason I did that is Twisty Stitch just looks better in a bulky yarn for the size of your loom. So if you were going to use a worsted weight loom, you would need one of the thicker worsted weights, like pop yarn or one of those yarns that are a little thicker in the worsted, and then you could use a 1/2 inch. If your worsted yarn is thinner, then I would use a 3/8 inch, and you'll get the same look. Okay, so first thing is we're going to cast on, and you can use any stitch you want to cast on. You just want to make sure it's a stitch that leaves you with loops that you can pick up after you go around. So sometimes I use an E-wrap cast on for a 10 stitch, and sometimes I use a chain. I'm going to use a chain with this one. So I made a slip knot and I just put it on the first peg. I'm going to take my hook, put it down into the peg, into the yarn on the peg, and pull up a loop. Go behind, take the yarn and put it through the loop and just tighten it. And I'm just going to tighten this one here. And then you go around the next peg and tighten it. Around the next, tighten it. Around the next, tighten it. Around the next, tighten it. And then just put it over. Okay, I'm just going to pause you for a second. Okay, I'm back, and had to have a drink of water. I just have a dry throat. Okay, so now I'm going to go back. So I'm going to go over the peg. Oh, and by the way, I'm doing it as 8 stitches because I'm just showing you how to do the stitch. I don't know if I'll keep this blanket or not, so I don't want to have too many pegs in there. But you can do 10 stitches if you like. You just do the extra 10 or the extra 2 pegs. Makes not very much difference. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go right into the twisty stitch. So I go over like this, and then I come back like this, and keep it loose. If you keep it loose, it'll just be so easy to knit, and it will give you a bit more texture. And if you have trouble being loose, when you put this over, just make sure you have some play. See how this is loose for me? Oop. Some play here. I just do it very loosely. It'll still work if you knit tight, but it is not going to be as easy to knit. And of course, if you knit too tightly, you can end up getting carpal tunnel. Not fun. But that's why I knit loose, because I was having problems with my wrist, and it's a lot easier. Okay, now we're at the last stitch, so we just go over and come back. Okay, and then this way for twisty, and then come back the other way for twisty. Okay, so over in a U-wrap, and it's kind of like you're doing a U-wrap backwards. Just be loose, and then your yarn comes from behind over in front of the next peg. I did a twisty stitch video too. So it's that easy. You go over, come back. That's all there is to it. Very easy stitch. Over, come back, and over. There we go. And we come back. Oop, splitting the yarn there. Come on, yarn, don't split on me. There we go. Funky piece of yarn there. Okay. We go over in a U-wrap. We come back over like a U-wrap. Knit it off. Over like a U-wrap. back the other way, knit it off, over like a U-wrap, back the other way, knit it off. Okay, that's all there is to it. It's really super easy stitch. You're going to find it doesn't have much curl when it's small like this. It's only when you start getting it into the big blanket. So, but I have a good edge treatment that works really nicely with Twisty Stitch. So I will show that to you. Okay, so now I'm just going to keep going till I get a piece as long as I want. And what you want to do for this initial panel that we're doing right here is you want to do it the dimension. You want to do it so that it's the shape of the finished blanket. So if you are doing a square blanket, you want a square shape to start with before you start turning the corner. If you want a rectangular blanket, then you want to do a lot further, at least double to where a square is. That will give you a slight rectangle blanket, or close to 3 times will give you a longer rectangle blanket. So depending on the size of your blanket and the shape of your blanket, you'll just figure out from this first panel what kind of blanket that you're going to make. So I'm just going to knit ahead for a while. I'll put you on pause and we'll catch up when we're ready to do corner 1. Okay, so here's my piece that I'm going to start with. And there's Twisty. And it's looking pretty nice. I don't think the camera really does this stitch justice. I'll try it this way. But it has a ton of texture and it's twisting up. And you'll be able to see the pattern better when I get to some of the lighter colors in here. But now we start to do corner 1. So I'm going to show you, we do corner 1 and 2, and that enables us to start to turn the corner. And all through the blanket, you're only going to do corner 1 and corner 2, except for right here. We're going to do corner 1 and 2 twice. So we're going to go corner 1, corner 2, and then corner 1, corner 2 again. And the reason for that is, if we were to turn, we would only turn to here, and we have to turn again because we need to start picking up the stitches here. So we need to turn all the way around. So we need to do corner 1 and 2 twice. Okay, so first we're going to do corner 1. So we're going to knit down to this stitch, and then we're going to take it out by doing a German short row. And I do the German short row with this Twisty Stitch, and I should have showed you on the other blanket, but if you do that with this stitch, you won't even see it. You won't have any holes at all, and it makes a really, really beautiful corner. I don't like corners that have holes in them. So it'll make a beautiful corner, and the back of your stitch looks really nice too. It looks quite different, but the blanket looks really good on the other side too. Also, the ridge that we're going to have, we're going to make a ridge in it. It looks pretty flat on the Twisty, and you'll see that as we go. Because Twisty is such a textured stitch, the ridge is about the same texture as the stitch. So it pretty much disappears, so you don't see a really big ridge at all on this stitch. So for people who don't like much of a ridge, this is a good stitch for you that way. But all your texture is on this side, and then this side is flatter, doesn't have as much texture, so it gives you 2 different looks. Okay, so we'll start now. We'll do corner 1. So we're going to come over and do Twisty. Goes really fast too. It's one of the easiest stitches you'll ever do. Okay, now we're going to come over and we're just going to knit this in an E-wrap, and then we're going to take our working yarn and pull it nice and tight. And if you look, you can open this up. You see kind of a V here. This yarn has a little bit of fuzz here. Open up with my fingers, but there you go. You see, like this, sideways V. And that tells you you've done the German short row there. And then this first stitch I'm going to knit tighter because I want it to hold that German short row. Be a little tighter, but then the second stitch can be nice and loose. And then back we go. And that's the German short row, which is my favorite short row for most projects, just because it gives you such a nice short row with no holes. Okay, then we're going to go down and take the next stitch out. The reason I showed you that V is so that you'll know that that's one that you took out. Having yarn problems here. Come on out, yarn. There we go. Now we're cutting into this kind of a brown color here. That is a, well, taupe. It's kind of a taupe. Okay, here we go again. And now we're going to take this one out. We took that one out. And if you're ever in doubt, put your finger in the side, and if you get that, you know that you did that. Okay, and we go over it, and then we're going to pull it, and we pull it until it becomes the V. See? You should have all the way like this, then you know you've pulled it tight enough. And so this one will be a little tighter when we go over, but then we loosen up on the next one. And that's all there is to it. It's really pretty easy. Personally, it's a lot easier than the garter stitch blanket. Just do this one stitch all the way through and then just the edge treatment. I did get Frankie Brown's permission. She's allowed me to make all my videos and patterns on her 10-stitch construction. She was the one that did it. And you'll find that every person who's made 10-stitch blankets and made videos or patterns has asked Frankie Brown's permission, and you do need to. It's copywritten, except for one person, and I'm not going to name them, but they just went ahead, made a 10-stitch video, never asked permission from the copywritten pattern. And if you do the exact pattern on a loom that someone's done on needles, that's the same pattern. You've just used a different tool to make it. Okay. I got to take this off because I was talking. So anyway, it's very important you always ask for permission on a copywritten pattern. Okay. Go over and pull. And there we go. There we go. So very easy. Frankie Brown is just brilliant with her 10-stitch patterns, and then she made the zigzag 10-stitch pattern, her copyright too. But I've got permission, so I'm really happy. She's a very nice lady. There we go. So we just keep going down and taking out another peg. There we go. So I went over it and then I just pull. So all these are taken out already. They all have the V. And then you know we've done it properly. That one's always tighter. Oop. The wrong way there. And from the back. And then over. This is corner one. Okay, then we come back over Almost done too. Corner one didn't take very long. Okay, over and then pull. Here we go. Okay, and pull, and there we are. That's it. That's the end of corner one. They're all in the V. Now for corner two, we're just going to come back and we're going to knit this off. So we take both of the strands that are in the V and knit them off. And once we've knit them off, we're going to come back. So we knit it again going this way, and then we knit this one just in a U-wrap. We're going to go back over, knit this one. Now this is a regular stitch again. We do twisty with it. We come to a stitch that has the V, so we're just going to knit it over and come back. Okay, and then this one is twisty stitch. Keep it loose, and then the end peg. Okay, we're going to come back over, knit this one. This one's twisty. This one has one strand, now it's twisty. This one has the V, so we're going to knit over it in a U-wrap. Here we go. Come back in a U-wrap, and then twisty. Okay, so it's hard to see, but we've started to turn a corner. So we came down here. There, easier to see now. We came down here and we're going this way now. We've made a little corner. Okay. Okay, now we pick up the next V over here. And then over it in a U-wrap and back. Okay, and then these are all twisty. Okay, so I think you got the idea. So we're just going to go down and we're going to pick them all up. So they're back into the twisty stitch pattern. And actually we only have 2 left, so you know what? I'm not going to put you on pause after all. We might as well just do them. I just don't want the video to get too long because I also am going to show you how to do that edge treatment. So if it gets too long, it takes forever to upload it to YouTube. Okay, and then we pick up the next one and back, and then we only have that last one to pick up. It goes fast on an 8th stitch, so yeah, I'll just show you the whole corner 1 and 2. Except I got to pull out some yarn, so see if I can just get to here before I have to pull it out. Doesn't want to come out, so I think it's getting hung up on something. Okay, and then leave it there. And I'll just pull some yarn out of here. Yeah, here it is. It's gotten all tangled up in the other piece of yarn. Aha. Okay. Well, I can loosen this up better off camera, but for now I'm just going to get enough yarn to use. finish this corner. Okay, so I already did that stitch. So twisty, here we go. Twisty stitch. Okay, and we're going to pick up the last stitch. Okay, over and back into twisty. And then this is it. Corner 1 and 2 are done. And I'll just show you the corner in a second here. Okay, there you go. So here's our corner. Get it so it shows better. It came down. Come on. There. Come up. It's always funky when you first do it. But anyway, there we go. Put it on this color, and you see we did this, and we're coming down like this, and we have a nice corner, and there are no holes. The holes would be showing right through up here if we had holes. You can see through the stitches here, but corner is looking really good. Okay, so now we have to do corner 1 and 2 again, and that will give us a corner going like this, so we can go down and pick up the stitches down here. Okay. So we do corner 1 and corner 2 again, and when we're done that, and we've done that, we'll catch up. So I'm just going to do that off camera so I can save some length of this video. So we'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I've done my corner 1 and 2, and see, this is what I end up with corner 1 and 2. I've turned right around. We have this nice piece here. And this is when I start to put on my stitch markers. I put it on the first stitch I'm going to pick up. And how I figured that out, so we'll come up here and we'll look. And it looks like you're quite far down. This is why I like to mark it, because they can be hard to see once you get up here. But if you go any closer to pick up something, you can see you're moving this yarn right on the peg here, and you don't want to be doing that because that's part of that stitch. So down here, if I pull it, I'm just pulling on the yarn under it. I'm not pulling on that peg. So that's why I knew this is where to pick up the stitch. And I'm just picking up these 2 strands. Whoops, sorry, we're out of I'm just picking up these 2 strands here. And I'm going to show you what they look like because it's hard to see on this purple color. Okay, and then I went down to the corner, and how I figured out where this one is going to go is we've got all the stitches, so you could see 2 stitches here, 2 stitches here. We got all the stitches, and then the last 2 stitches are right here. So that's the last 2, and this will be the first one we pick up after we turn the corner. So these 2 stitches, I put the stitch marker in. Over here, same. This one's harder to find just because this is where you cast on. So the last row of the stitches is right here, and this is the first row of the new stitches. Just doesn't quite look like it, but that's just because this yarn is here, but that's the first one. And then here you're going to be able to see it a lot easier. Okay, so you can see that this is, I'm going to open it up. This is what your stitches look like on the side when you open them up, and these are the 2 stitches on top that you pick up. Then you have this bar here, then another 2 stitches you can pick up. See, 2 stitches to pick up. So these are the last 2 stitches on the end. And then you have this work here, that's the corner, and here's the first 2 stitches, and I put the stitch marker in them. Okay, so having trouble here. Everything's slipping down. So now I can put them on this side. So I'm going to get a stitch marker because I've just done this corner. And so we're coming around this way. So here's the last stitch. We're looking for the last stitch. So I'll pull them open so you can see where all the stitches are. There's the 2 stitches there. And then here's the last 2 stitches right here. There's the corner right there, and the first 2 stitches are right. I get it to open up. It's tighter here because it's connected to the loom. So I'm just going to loosen it up, and then there I can find where the 2 edge stitches are. Put the stitch marker in, and I'm picking up these 2 stitches right here and putting them on the pin. And then they're all marked. And every time I do a corner, I mark for the first stitch when I turn the corner, and then it's all marked. It makes it easy to find. Now, if you want to, especially if you have a dark yarn where it's harder to see, you can mark all the stitches you pick up. So I'm just going to show you that too real quickly. You just go down to the next stitch you're going to pick up. So there's the work. That's really hard to see with the purple, isn't it? There's the work. There's the 2 stitches right here. And here's the next 2 stitches right here in the hole. I can see them easy on the purple. You can't. But then I just put this in the next stitch. So here I've got the 2 stitches here. Here I've got the next 2 stitches here. And then the next 2 stitches will be right there, next to right there, and you always have the 2 stitches that you're picking up. Okay, yeah, it's unfortunate it started with purple. It's harder to see, but you can see it really easy on this color. 2 stitches you pick up, then there's this solid bar, 2 stitches, 2 stitches, and you can just keep seeing them. See? Very easy once you get the knack of it. But you can mark it all the way down if you have trouble seeing the stitches that you're going to pick up. You can just mark it all the way down. I only do it with the first stitch. It's really important to do because it's hard to find it. You can see with here it's down a lot further than you think it's going to be by the time it gets there. By the time we get here, this is going to seem like, because it's going to be stretched on the loom, this is going to be way down here. So there, just so you know. Okay, so now because we're picking up, and I've done this edge, what we're going to do is we've just finished the last corner 1 and 2. We're going to be picking up this stitch. So because I have a stitch marker on it, I can just pull it right over like that. Okay, I don't know if you saw that, it slipped down again. I'm going to do it again. So you just pull over the first stitch, or first 2 stitches, and just put it on there. You got the stitch marker there holding them, and then you can just take the stitch marker off. There. So now we have these 2 stitches on the loom on the last peg here, which is the first peg that we're always putting into the short row. Open it up so you can see the 2 stitches on there. Okay. So we're just going to go down now. Here, I'm going to tighten this up because it got all loose. Pull it out a little bit. It wants to wrap on that other end of the yarn. I have to keep unwrapping it as I go. Okay. Okay, now we're just doing Twisty Stitch, and I'll show you how to pick that up. We're picking up that side. I think I'm addicted to 10 stitches. I just love doing them. You can do any size blanket you want, from just a little lap blanket to a great big blanket, or even as a shawl if you want to do it really long. Okay, then I'm just going to come down here, do a U-wrap, and pick up all of the stitches. And if you find they're too tight to pick up all at once like this and put over, then you can just put over the one and then the other. They don't have to go over at the same time. And then you come back, and then you're going to do twisty stitch. That's all there is to picking it up. Now, so you don't forget what you're doing, I have a system. So always when I'm finished with the third peg, I come and I put the next stitch on. And because I've marked it, if I hadn't marked it, I would have been able to find it. It's the next one, I can tell when I'm going, but it makes it easier, especially on the dark purple. And I just put the 2 stitches on. Oops, gee, I'm having trouble with the camera. I'm just going to readjust the camera a little bit. Get this a little higher. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to come over with this stitch marker and put the 2 stitches on. There we go. Yeah, some days cameras are no problem at all. Other days they are a problem. So this is just on there. Then if I have to end my work, I know what I'm doing. I come back and it's like this. I know this is, I was on the 3rd one there. And also I can tell which way was twisty because it's going this way, right from the back over. So this. And the end. Okay, I'm going to come over and knit them both off. That one off, that one off. There we go. And come back, and then we go into twisty. Come up to the 3rd one. And then I'm just going to put the next stitch on, and I can tell where it is. So I'm just going to put it on, but like I say, you can put the stitch markers in if you have trouble seeing where it is. Well, sometimes I do the Tamsin join because it's flatter on some of the 10 stitch blankets, but not on this one because the ridge just blends right in with this stitch. So just can do it just like this. Okay, and so I'm going to come back over, knit it off, and I'm going to keep going. And what we're doing is we're picking up that whole side, and here we are. And you'll see it as we do a little bit more. So just keep going until you get down further. And when you're down to here, and we've picked up all those stitches, and we're just about to turn the corner, we'll catch up. So just keep picking them up all along until we get up near the end, and then we will start again and do our corners. Okay, here we are. As I've picked that up, you can see that this is right where they're joining together, but it's not much of a ridge. And the reason for that is the stitch is already so textured. So that's where we're doing the 10 stitch. Now I stopped here because I want to show you that I am at the last stitches on here to be picked up, and then we have the first stitch of the stitch marker. So this is the last stitch of this side, So as soon as I pick this up, we need to do corner 1 and corner 2. So I'm just going to do that now. This is a good place to catch up with you. We pick up the last one, and just in case you have it too tight, we'll do them one at a time. And then we're just going to come back and knit it over. Oop. There we go. And come back. Now we're going to just leave that stitch there that has the stitch marker on right here, because that's the first stitch we pick up. Oh, it's hard to see once we do whatever, but it'll be the first stitch we pick up. We do our corner 1 and our corner 2, and then we'll be heading down here. See? So corner 1, corner 2, we'll head down here, pick up that small side, then corner 1, corner 2 over here, we'll pick up this one, head down here, corner 1, corner 2, pick up this one, head down there, and we just keep going around and around and around the blanket, and that's how you do the 10 stitch. Okay, so corner 1. Now you know how to do corner 1, but I'll just start you off. I already did that one, okay, or did I? Well, best way when you don't know what you've done is take off the stitch, put it back on the loom, and then do it properly. And then you know just what you've done. There we go. And we're going to go back, doing twisty. Now, do you remember what we do here? We're doing corner 1 and 2, the German short row. So first we do this one and pull into the V. There we go. And this one's always tighter. And then we can go looser again this way. Okay, so I'm just going to come and then we'll do the second one in the V, and corner 1, corner 2. We only do that set one time. Corner 1, corner 2, that's it, because all we're going to do is turn the corner one time because we're going down here now. Okay, so just corner 1 and 2 once. But before we do that, just admire this a little bit more. You can see how nice the twisty stitch is, how much texture it has. There, that really picks up the texture when I do that. It has a beautiful, beautiful texture. And when you feel the ridge, it isn't very ridgy at all. It's comfortable and soft. Okay, so just we're going to do our corner 1 and 2, and then we'll catch up, and the first peg we pick up will be the one on the stitch marker after we do our corner 1 and 2. So we'll put you on pause and we'll do our corner 1 and 2. Okay, so here I am. I've done my corner 1 and 2, and there's the corner right there. And here's the last one to pick up. There's the V. So I'm just going to pick that up. There we go. Knit over it. And then do twisty. and stop at my peg 3, and we pick up the first stitch, which I have on the stitch marker, and put it on the peg. Really hard to see with this purple yarn, isn't it? There we go. That's the other reason I like stitch markers, easy to pull on, and there are my 2 stitches. If I can get it to open up so you can see it. There we go. My 2 stitches on there. And take the stitch marker off, and there'll be a place to put it now. So we're coming around this way. There's the last stitch there. We put it in the first stitch there. So we're going to come up to this corner and find the last stitch on this side, and there it is, and there's the corner. The corner looks like that, and then the first stitch is right over here at the end, the other side of the corner, and we put the stitch marker in. There we go, and that way I always have them in. And now when we look at this blanket, you can see this coming, and now we're going to pick up this side, and it's going to turn and come down this side. So you just keep picking up all the way along all the stitches on this side till you come to the end, and the end, depending on how your first stitch was when you cast on, may look kind of funky, but here's where the last stitch is on this one. And then the first stitch, I have the stitch marker in over here. So I'm going to stop right when I get to here and do my corner 1 and 2. So just pick up your corner, 1 stitch after the other, work your way down till you're at the last stitch, and then we'll do corner 1 and 2 again and turn the corner and start a 2nd row on the blanket. But as you see, here's the shape of the blanket. It is a rectangle again, just like I started out with. Okay, so let's do our corner 1 and 2, and I'll see you in a few. No, we're not doing the corner 1 and 2. Sorry about that. We're picking up the stitches, and then I meet you here when I'm ready to do the corner 1 and 2. I hope I said it right this time, so we'll see you in a few. Okay, so I've picked up the stitches all along the side. I've come down, I'm on the last marker, and here's where the stitch marker is, and this is our cast on row. So we've now done a complete rectangle here. We've gone around here, here. Now we're going to come down here, pick up this stitch and do this entire side till we get here. When we get here, we'll have our basic shape we started with. So you're going to start picking up the stitches, starting with this one here. So we just take this one. Oh no, first we do the corner 1 and 2. So we turn around, then we're going to start with this one here, and we're going to come all the way down here, do the last stitch here, do corner 1 and 2, and then you'll be picking up that one. So we do the corner 1 and 2, and what that'll enable, so if we look at it here, you can see that here's where we joined. Now we're coming up here, and this is just going to spiral all around the blanket. Oh, I just love the look of 10 stitches so much, and look at how nice and textured the pattern is. These colors, I really like these colors right now. So we're going to keep going. Our ridge is going this way, and now our ridge is going to come back down here. We're just going to be spiraling along. So do your corner 1 and 2, and then you start picking up this row and keep going. So I'm going to do my corner 1 and 2, and then I'm going to do the ridge, and I'll meet you right up here, and we'll look at where we are. Okay, so again, you do the corner 1 and 2. As soon as you finish the corner 1 and 2, you put on that peg on the loom, and you start picking up all the stitches along the edge until you get to the last stitch. pick it up, and then you do corner 1 and 2 again, but we're going to stop right here and look at it. Okay, so we'll see you in a bit. Okay, so what I've done is I did the corner 1 and 2 and started working down the side, and we just keep working down the side till we get to here, and then do the corner 1 and 2 and then pick that up. But you can see how it looks now. I'll put it like this. So here's our blanket, there's our ridge coming down here, and now it's coming up here, and it's just going to keep going round and around and spiraling. Okay, so now you know the mechanics and you know how to do this, and I'd be coming and I would come to the end here and then, you know, put the marker in, same thing, the stitch marker, so that I would know what I was, and I keep going. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the same blanket done, which I did as a 10 stitch. I'll show you the 10 stitch one that's 10 stitch all the way through, to show you what it's going to look like, and that'll be a good picture for the video. So this is probably the one you saw in the video. Okay, so here we go. I got it here. Okay, now this is it. So this is in Twisty Stitch, and this is Barcelona on a 3/4 inch. So I told you when you had Barcelona that you should be on a 5/8, but you can do it on 3/4, and then you get a more lighter blanket. Still looks good. See, there's Twisty Stitch, and you just have a lighter, fluffier blanket. It's still very pretty stitch. There's Twisty there. You see, it's not quite as tight a stitch as when I use a thicker, bulky. See, it's a much thicker stitch. So there you go. This shows you what it looks like on here. And then I'm going to stretch this out so we can see it better. And there we go. So on this one, you can see here's your ridge coming here like this, then up here, then it's coming across here and down here, and then over here, up here, and we just keep going. So there you go. Here's a much bigger blanket, and I'm about to, once I hit the end here of this blanket, I'm going to be doing that edge to keep it from rolling. So this is the slight roll you get from it, and I'm going to do that edge treatment, and that will make it straight like the blanket I'm going to demonstrate the edge treatment on. But here's what it looks like in a 10 stitch. A Twisty Stitch is a very nice stitch, and the other side like that. Okay, so I'll go get the other blanket, and I'll show you that edge treatment. Okay, so I'm back on this blanket, and I'm going to show you how to do the edge treatment. So here I am. I'm picking up the side going along on this blanket, and so this is my end here. That's nice and flat. Okay, here's how we do it. So I've got the 4 marked pegs here, so I'm going to purl it as I've gone this way. As I'm coming back, I'm going to purl it. That's the only purls you need to do in the whole thing. And then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to act just like I'd gone over in the U-wrap, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to knit it off. Okay, and we're going to keep it loose. So I'm going to purl this one, and then I'm going to come back. Now this takes away some of your texture, but that's okay. It's just at the very edge, so you don't notice it, and it blends right in. Purl it and come back in the loose knit, and then knit over. When you do the corner, you just do the corner the normal way. You're only going to do this renovation when you're going straight, because see here on the corner, you're fine. The corners don't tend to curl because of the way they're done, and it'll be nice and flat on the sides, not curling in. So that's all you have to do on your last row, and it looks really good on the sides. Okay, so I guess I should show you when you come back, you do the same thing. So knit that one over. So then you're just going to do the purl only on these marked pegs, and then come back the other way. Make sure you're keeping it loose. And that will make your side nice and flat. And blend right in with the blanket. So that's all you do. On a short project, an owl eye border usually works with Twisty Stitch, but on a big project, you want to pull out the big guns here. And then we're just back to normal knitting. Oh, I was going to show you the short way I do it, right? When I'm doing Twisty, I just go back and forth like this. But for you, till you get good at doing something like that, it's this way and then this way, keeping it loose. And I'm going to go down and pick up that stitch, but you don't need to know how I do this because you already know about the other blanket, and I just wanted to show you how to have your sides be nice and flat. Then when you bind off, you're just going to bind off at the end of a row, like when I get to the end of the row. So had you been coming this way and got to the end here, you would just have bound off, and I will link the bind off that I use with my 10 stitches to the video, but you always bind off at the end because you want the blanket to be completely square and look good. So there you go. And again, actually, just before I end, you can see this. So this is Barcelona, the same yarn that I used on the other one, and it's thicker. And it's thicker because I did it on the 5/8 inch gauge. So there you go. That just shows you. You can always do a bit of a swatch to see what it's going to look like. And you can actually do it in worsted. Just use a 1/2 inch or a 3/8 depending on your worsted. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Twisty is one of my favorite stitches. I created it right after Owl Eye Stitch. And then I had so many stitches that I thought of and tried out and worked that I never got back to Twisty for a long time, but I'm finishing off these 10 stitches now. So I pulled Twisty out again to do, and I thought, yeah, let's do a Twisty video for you guys because people have been waiting for a very long time for a Twisty video. So I hope you enjoyed the video and enjoy making these blankets, and until next time, bye.